Hi friends, it has been a minute since I filmed a sit-down video, but today we are going to be talking about April, May, and June stats. I am going to timestamp the video. I will put my stats in the beginning of the video, and then I will do my 5 favorites from the month. If you don't care about stats, go down to the timestamp and you can skip to the time when I start talking about my favorites. So in April, I read 23 books at 7,798 pages. In May, I read 30 books at 8,888 pages. And in June, I read 18 books at 4,167 pages. I have read a total of 131 books in 2021 so far. And so far in the year, romance has been 52.7% of my reading, and fantasy comes in at second at 15.5%. Obviously, I read way more romance than I do anything else. I read, I think, across a total of like 13 different genres or something like that, so no complaints there. I'm going to pop up a couple other stats that are like yearly stats. If you're interested in those, I will leave them up right now. All right, so that was over pretty quickly because I didn't have a lot of stats that I tracked. Most of my stats are done like on a yearly basis. They're not broken down by months, but let's get into my favorite reads of the quarter. I did do a 5-star reads of 2021 so far video, if you are interested in my 5-star reads so far. So my first favorite that I want to talk about is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. If you have been on my channel at all since I read this book, you will know that this is gonna be on this list. I think this is one of the best adult fantasies I have ever read. This is fucking fantastic. And if you like fantasy at all, I would highly, highly recommend reading this. This is a pre-Columbian inspired fantasy story. You're following 4 points of view, and in this world there is a city called Tova, and Tova has different clans, and all of the different clans are overseen by a group called the Watchers. And in the beginning of this book, there is one of the clan's leaders has died and it has been deemed a suicide, but there seems to be something else going on with that. And one of the points of view is the son of the clan's woman leader that passed away, and he is set to become the bodyguard to his sister, who is going to take over the clan. However, there is also someone else, another point of view, that is kind of a mystery, and he is blind and he seems incredibly powerful, and his mission is not very clear. All we know is that he is said to come to Tova to take over this clan, so we are following him on his journey, and we are also following another main character who has been tasked with bringing him to Tova. And then the last point of view is the leader of the Watchers, who is currently experiencing a lot of unrest amongst the clans, but also some unrest in the Watchers. It seems like there is someone staging a coup. So that is the very general premise of this book. Like I said, it's fucking amazing. The way that Rebecca Roanhorse was able to weave all of the stories together was amazing. All of the points of view were interesting and important. I didn't feel like I wanted to skip any of them, and just altogether, I think this was beautifully written. The world is so expansive and understandable and accessible, and I think if you are at all concerned about reading this, just don't be. It's so good, and I would definitely recommend picking it up if you haven't already. My next favorite read of the quarter is going to be Amari and the Night Brothers. This is a middle grade story about a young girl who comes home from school one day to discover a delivery man at her door, and he tells her, in the back of your missing brother's closet there is a suitcase. At midnight, open the suitcase, you'll find a pair of goggles, put the goggles on, and then when she does, she sees her brother, and she kind of discovers this magical world and attends this summer camp. So it is a very magical book. But my favorite thing about this story was Amari. In the very beginning, she very much feels like her her brother was the best sibling, everyone loved him, everyone adored him, and that she kind of was living in his shadow. But through the discovery of friendship and community and her magic, she kind of discovers her own power and comes into her own, and she's trying to work with her friends to solve this mystery, find her brother, and just kind of defeat a big bad. And it is so well done. I am so excited to see where this series goes. I think the first book was a beautiful introduction. It felt complete and whole in itself, but you could tell that you were just getting a glimpse of this world and what it has to offer, and I'm so excited to see where this series goes, and I think it's going to be a fantastic series for coming generations. So it was a 5-star for sure. So next up is probably the best historical romance I have ever read, and that is Someone to Watch Over Me by Lisa Kleypas. This is an amnesia romance, which is not generally something I would gravitate towards. Grant is I think he's a Bow Street runner, right? And he ends up finding this woman in the Thames. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he recognizes her as a sex worker, a very prominent sex worker in the area that he had some bad run-ins with, but she can't remember who she is. So he takes her in, he takes care of her, and they have to discover not only who tried to kill her, but also like try to get her memories back. And this was so freaking good. I loved Grant. If you don't particularly like alpha males, I would say you probably won't like Grant, but I adored everything about this, and the dynamic between the hero and the heroine was so lovely. Grant was inexplicably drawn to Vivian, but he had like these preconceived notions about her, and it just was absolutely I loved it so much. If you are a Lisa Kleypas fan or you are a historical romance fan, I would definitely recommend checking this out. Like I said, if you're not an alpha hero person, probably won't like Grant, but their relationship just really did something for me. I found it super cute, and I really liked Vivian's character. So yes. So next up, to no one's surprise, is Rush by Brianna Hale. This is my third Brianna Hale book, and it's definitely my favorite. It's like tied as my favorite romance of all time. If you're new, my favorite romance of all time is Birthday Girl, but this one might beat Birthday Girl out. This is a rockstar daddy romance, and it follows Rush and Dree. Dree is a dancer slash choreographer who previously had a bad run-in with a rock star group that kind of fucked her over, and she is not really interested in taking other jobs, being in the limelight because of what happened, but Rush comes to her and says, I want you to choreograph my new music video. And so she does, and their relationship is so beautiful. They do have a daddy-little relationship a little bit. Daddy is used, a dom-sub relationship, and it's absolutely gorgeous. They have my favorite dynamic, which is a bratty sub, and I freaking loved it. Their relationship is so communicative. If one person wants to try something, they will just, the other person is like, yes, okay, let's do it. If you want to do it, let's do it. They don't ask questions, they don't demean, they don't do anything like that. It's absolutely beautiful, and they are new to the kind of lifestyle, and so they're kind of discovering each other's taste together, and their relationship as a whole is just it's like romance in my opinion. It's just a couple that loves each other and is open to anything. You can say anything to this person and they're not going to judge you. It's just really beautiful. I think each individual person grows so much throughout the story. Like Rush's growth and Dree's growth separately is great, and then together is fantastic, and it's so beautiful. Rockstar romances are not my thing. I don't really like fame. That whole plot line really bores me generally, like the paparazzi and all of that kind of stuff. It really worked here, and it was so freaking good. Like, I wanted to cry. It was so good. So I actually wasn't able to pick 5, so I have 3 more to talk about. So next up, another favorite of the quarter was Her Soul to Take. This is a dark romance, and it follows a woman who is like a paranormal investigator on YouTube, and she moves back to her small town that she was raised in, and some like weird stuff's going on. There's like some culty activity, and she gets hold of a grimoire that has the name of a demon in it, who is our hero. And wow, it's so freaking good. Like, it has all of the spooky vibes. I would definitely say it's more like, if you're looking for something that is like truly like paranormal horror with a romance, it's definitely this. A lot of like trigger warnings and stuff with it, obviously, because it's dark, but I love their relationship. The hero is one of those heroes that you immediately love or you immediately don't like, so you'll know right away, but I loved their relationship. They also had my favorite dynamic, which is like a bratty sub, and it just, there is a scene where he pierces her for a specific reason in a specific place, and it just, yes, so freaking good. Would highly recommend. Please read it. So next up is actually a manga, and it is Devil's Line. This is an exception because I don't generally rate the first volume in a manga series, but I ended up giving this 5 stars. This is a paranormal romance series. It's about vampires. The main character, she is friends unknowns to her with a vampire, and he has been doing some bad things. And so this group, this agency who is, I guess, charged with taking down criminal vampires, end up getting rid of her best friend, and then one of the members of the agency is charged with protecting her, but he kind of becomes obsessed with her. He's half vampire himself. Their angst is so good. Their relationship is so cute. They're like newborn calves. Like, they just don't know what they're doing, and it's so cute, and I cannot wait to continue on. You want something like Tokyo Ghoul-esque? This, so good. And then lastly, the other 5-star read I want to recommend to you or just rave about is Love Her or Lose Her. I go more in depth into my feelings on this in that 5-star video, so go check that out. But I fucking loved this book. Like, I cried at this book, and I don't cry that much. I really don't. And it hit me on so many levels. This is basically a marriage in trouble story. In the beginning of the book, the heroine leaves the hero and basically says, there's no passion in our relationship. Like, the only thing I feel like I'm good for is sex. We don't talk. And like, I have given up my dreams for this, and I'm just not very fulfilled. And the hero says, I don't want to lose you. I'll do whatever I have to. And so they start going to marriage counseling, and the relationship grows from there. And this is absolutely so freaking beautiful. So beautiful. The hero is a veteran, and like I said in that video, as someone who, every man in my family has been in some sort of branch of the military, and I understand his personality. I understand where he's coming from. If you don't like alpha males, you will not like him, but there were so many parts of his personality that just like touched me so hard. He's been in action. He has a lot of like pent up emotions and things that he doesn't know how to deal with, and he doesn't know how to talk about it because he's been trained and raised to believe that men don't cry, they don't show emotion, they're just there to support and protect. That's what they're there for. And he feels like he's failed his wife, and it just it's really beautiful, and I fucking loved it, and I cannot wait to reread it because their relationship is so beautiful. And as the book goes on, he doesn't get rid of that alpha personality. He remains an alpha. He has, those characteristics, but he learns to communicate, and he learns how to, he learns what his wife needs, and he kind of learns what he needs himself. And he learns how to communicate, and it's beautiful. And I would recommend. How many times am I gonna say that? Okay, Ashley, stop crying. That is how my quarter went. A lot of romances, a lot of great romances, and hopefully next quarter will be better. I would like to not have a month where I just don't read at all, but it is what it is. I would love to know down below how your quarter went, or just what you've been reading in general, any of your 5-star reads of the year. I will leave the link to that video down below if you want to check that out. But other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.